Hello everybody, for today's video we are going to be going over the preseason 2020 gameplay changes for League of Legends. I'm going to give a little bit of a breakdown on what my thoughts on the new changes are going to be, as well as telling you what they actually are. League of Legends posted this last night during the anniversary, the 10th anniversary of the League of Legends celebration, and they introduced a lot of really cool concepts. So let's get right into it. First changes are changes to the map, and this is huge. Not huge in terms of actual game impact, but huge in just the map hasn't changed for years, except, maybe they added plants, but the physical map hasn't changed, since I started playing. So I think this is going to be really fun to play around with. And so let's talk about it a little bit. So first, I just want to say that the Drake changes are just ultimately going to be a really nice addition to the game. It's going to make each game more unique. We can take a look at a couple pictures here. But as you can see, the actual dragon pit looks really cool. Plus, it breaks down some of the walls within the jungle and makes impact within the jungle as well while the dragons are up. So the fire dragon breaks down walls. The ocean dragon, as you can see, creates a lot of brush. I think Rengar is gonna have a good time with the new map. Not gonna lie, because there's just so many brushes. Look at the jungle. Look how much brush there is in the actual jungle. These look like season 3 brushes. Not gonna lie, or like season 3 and before season 3, where they had the extra long brush. That's going to be pretty nice. I can see definitely a lot of assassins, making use of it. I mentioned Rengar, but, stuff like Kha'Zix or, maybe some other jungle assassins that come up and are able to make use of the extra fog of war that they get from all the brush. We have the Cloud Dragon, which gives a speed up in the area, so maybe if Cloud's up, somebody who can roam very early, maybe like an Aurelion Soul, or maybe like a Kiana, or something that can roam very early, like even level 2. I can make use of the extra move speed, and it actually makes use of it this is kind of the AoE of the Skarner Spires. It kind of have the same thing with the Cloud Dragon move speed, so it's not just in the river and around the Cloud Dragon itself, but it'll be actually in the jungle, which is pretty awesome. The Mountain Dragon kind of is like barred in, so while the enemy team's doing Dragon, they're gonna be all huddled in here. It will be pretty hard to pull it out, like what you'd usually do if you're doing Dragon. You want to kind of spread out, so everyone's gonna be huddled in there. And you're going to get Malphite ulted, Orianna ulted, you're going to get Wombo comboed. That's the idea, at least. That's what they mentioned here. Let's see. They mentioned that they want the Elemental Rifts fair to both teams. So both opportunities have the opportunity to exploit master and terrain equally. Okay, so they're basically just saying no matter if you're red side or blue side, it's going to be fair either way. It's not going to be a dramatic difference. And they're not adding any new gameplay mechanics. They're adding mechanics that already exist in the game to these dragons. So that's pretty cool. So, and it honestly, they're saying that they feel intuitive, which means they make sense. And so, when you see it, you're like, okay, that's what it is. You're not going to have to, learn any new mechanics or anything. So, as far as, your actual mechanics have to learn, you don't even have to worry about it. Alright, so let's get into the actual stats of these dragons. So, the Infernal Dragon, same thing, attack damage, ability power, but they actually buffed these other dragons. So, Ocean Dragon, Cloud Dragon, Mountain Dragon are all going to be extremely useful. So, before, it was like, if the enemy team had 3 Infernals, game was over, because they just have so much extra damage. But if it was 3 Ocean or 3 Cloud, it was just whatever. Maybe 3 Oceans, if we have a poke comp, maybe it could somewhat affect us. Or if they have triple Cloud, we need to make sure that we don't overextend, whatever. But it didn't have the impact the Infernal did. Didn't have the stress of having to go for it. But taking a look at these other dragons, the Oceanic Will, it looks like it'll be a little bit stronger. And its percentage of missing health, too. Cloudbringer's Grace. Gain cooldown reduction for your ultimate ability. I mean, I'm thinking Karthus. I'm thinking Twisted Fate. Like, you know, each dragon brings something to the table that just will always, you know, be good for a comp. You know, obviously better for certain champions. Like, you know, imagine having a Cloud Dragon, but you're playing Corki. Probably, might not help too much. But then you have something like Mountainous Vigor, which is the new Mountain Dragon buff, where you gain a percentage increase of armor and magic resistance. Okay, imagine playing an assassin, but the enemy team has 3 mountains, and they build tabbies, and the tabbies is like twice as effective. Just I don't see ADCs dying. So like getting a mountain dragon against like maybe very high burst damage or against like assassin teams, so it's gonna be super good. Whereas like in the Infernal, you know, 4 of those assassin teams might also be good. So I'm personally liking these dragons way better than the dragons before. So I'm happy with the changes. Needless to say. And then these Dragon Souls will basically end the game. So if your team kills 4 dragons, if you have multiple of one kind of dragon, say you have like 2 dragons, an ocean, and a cloud, you will get the Infernal Dragon Soul because you have more of Infernal than the other kind of dragons. And with the Infernal Soul, every 3 seconds, your next attack or damaging spell creates a small AoE explosion, dealing adaptive damage to skills with bonus attack damage, ability power, and bonus health. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now that there's probably going to be some cool animations. I mean, you'll see with the Elder animation, but there are probably going to be cool animations with all of these as well. Which is going to add a lot more satisfying touch to each one of these souls, and will just make a league more fun to play. Ocean Dragon Soul, dealing any damage triggers strong health and resource regeneration for 3 seconds. Damaging minions also provides, you know, regeneration, just a little bit less. So, obviously very good. You just, you get chunked out, you go and take raptors or something, and you probably gain a lot of your health and mana back. Yeah, easy as that. Cloud Dragon, hitting enemies with abilities or attacks lowers the cooldown of your base abilities. Now I'm thinking I'm playing TRYND, you know, I'm spinning and I'm auto attacking. I'm just gonna be resetting my spin over and over again. Obviously, they don't have the numbers for how fast you're gonna, you know, reduce the cooldown of your base abilities. I mean, this is basically a Spear of Shojin. You know, so like things like Jax or Renekton, Riven, you know, people who are good with like this current Spear of Shojin are gonna like it. We'll talk about Spear of Shojin here in a little bit and what they're doing to it. But Mountain Dragon Soul, after not taking damage for 5 seconds, gain a shield that lasts until destroyed. Think of this like a Malphite shield. That's essentially what this is. And if you have a Mountain Dragon Soul and you're against an assassin team, basically all of your ADC is gonna be like basically permanently protected. It's gonna be really hard to burst people. I mean, this is probably the strongest one, I'm assuming. We'll have to take a look at the actual numbers when they release them, but just the Mountain Dragon Soul sounds the best for me. Just because it's just has such high impact in like a team fight that breaks up, because team fights usually last what, like 10 maybe 15 seconds, you know, max, and having that extra bonus like basically effective HP at the beginning is going to help a bunch, especially keeping DPS alive. And then of course, you know, after the, you know, the 4 dragons or whatever, you're going to have the Elder Dragon. And if you didn't end the game with one of these, you absolutely will end the game with Elder Dragon. So essentially, Elder buff, they're changing it, so it's not going to be like the, I mean, it's still going to give the stat buff, like the damage over time, but it's going to work a little bit differently. So, hitting people while you have Elder causes immolation. And let me just play this little video. Sorry if my webcam cuts out part of the screen, but you probably should be able to see most of it. Check this out. See how Lulu being ganked by Twitch? Boom! You see that those wings? Look at the wings. That Lulu got zapped. I mean, it's gonna be really satisfying to play. So essentially, the Elder buff is going to turn the immolation to an execute, where if they fall below a certain health threshold, they get executed. They get zapped by dragon wings, you know, just flying out of you. I can't wait to do that with TRYND. It's gonna be really fun. But yes, there will be a way to counterplay it, because you still can use like Zanya's Hourglass to avoid it. Kindred's ult, you know, whatever. There's gonna be a little there's a brief wind up, you know, as you could read here, to avoid it. But next thing we're going to talk about, more map changes. So we have the dragon changes already. Now we have even more map changes. They're adding this to top lane. Now, if you take a look at this picture, it doesn't look like much, right? But I feel like a lot of people are going to favor, like, say you're getting ganked, or, you know, say I'm pushed up in lane, and I fall back to here. You know, depending on, like, what kind of champion you're playing, this could very highly benefit you. So, like, when I'm thinking about, like, when I look at this, you know, I'm thinking somebody with a wallbang ability like Poppy. Like, how can you fight Poppy in here, man? Like, the whole, like, width of the area is perfect, you know, range for Poppy's Q is going to take up the whole area, and there's a wall in every angle. So, it's going to be pretty hard to fight something like Poppy in here. Obviously, there's going to be a way to, like, juke. So, say if you're in this brush, you're running towards this brush, and you flash. The person sees the flash in the fog of war, so they go check that brush, but really you flashed up here and then you juke back that way or something. Just to name off a couple things. So, and this happens with bot lane too. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm thinking of maybe, you know, maybe some gank spots that can happen. Maybe junglers can make advantage of it. You know, we'll have to wait and see, you know, how people make use of that with their particular champion. Let's see. Oh yeah, they got these as well. So they're adding brush to both sides of the map, just outside the blue buff, which basically is going to give another brush for picks to be made. Another spot that you got to ward. If you like, it's going to make it a little bit more dangerous to just walk in the enemy jungle alone. So, like, if you're bot lane and you're trying to ward the enemy blue, you gotta think maybe there's like a J4 or release in this brush or something that could be coming to pick you off. So it might make it a little bit more dangerous. But on the other hand, again, I'm thinking assassins are gonna be pretty good with all these changes that are coming in. And you know, we'll get to it in a bit, but there are changes to assassins that I think are going to be buffs. And we might see another assassin meta along with all these map changes or item changes as well. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, imagine you're causing or anything, you just, like, there are a bunch of pick opportunities. And I can see people using this aggressively to take advantage of weaker junglers, like maybe something like a Mumu. We got jungle path diversity. So this is actually going to affect me in the top lane, or like a bunch of the 1v9 split push champs like Aurelia, Jax, Trynd, Fiora. You know, anything that like takes Krugs like while on the way to lane. They are actually reducing the amount of gold and experience that Krugs give in favor of the other camps. So the camps are more even, which will impact a jungler's route. So it's not just going to be straight linear, like you want to start Krugs and then work your way down so that you can be perfectly efficient with jungle gold. You can take a whole variety of paths now, depending on what you want to do in the game. So it's going to be, I think this might be change that junglers will actually enjoy. Because since their paths are no longer linear, it's going to be harder for the enemy team to track you. I mean, albeit you'll also be harder for you to track the enemy jungler. But I think this will make it so the enemy jungler is harder to predict, which will make ganks more successful. At the same time, though, they're also reducing the amount of experience overall that the camps give. So, I mean, at the same time that I think it'll be good, it's also bad for junglers. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But also, another big thing that might affect, pretty much everybody, top lane influence. So this is a part I was waiting to get to. So, for a high-stakes solo lane, basically Trynd in every matchup, right? Top has not been able to translate a lane win into an effective mid and late game carry for their team. Yes, Riot! You understand! Guys, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm excited for this preseason. I don't know if you could tell with my acting, but all this stuff is just crazy. So, combined with this preseason's increased focus on elemental drakes drawing fights to the bot lane, we're shifting power around to give top laners better opportunities to translate their wins into game wins. So, they are buffing the base minion experience. So, solo laners level a bit faster, and they're also reducing the experience of the duo lane. So, if you're laning with somebody, you're going to get reduced experience. So this, by the way, they didn't even mention it here. But guess who also duo lanes? Guess what the most hated thing I hate in League of Legends is? Funnel. So this by itself, having the higher solo lane experience, but then also nerfing, if you're with an ally, you're gonna get less experience together. This is also going to take away funneling, hopefully, and it's gonna reduce bot lane's level. Again, think assassin meta, because guess what? Mid lane, let's say like a mid lane counter, gonna get more experience now. Bot lane, the support especially, think about that poor Nami, is going to be lower level than usual, while the solo laner's a higher level. I mean, you can already see, what's going to happen. But I'm excited for this because, the ADC and support aren't going to just, basically win the game off my bot lane feeding, which is going to feel good for me. And honestly, I feel like bot lane has had a lot of impact on games recently, so this is awesome for me. And additionally, to balance out the map objectives a bit, we're spawning Rift Herald earlier in the game and allowing her to respawn once if she's killed early. So maybe they're going to make her spawn at 8 minutes, and if you kill her right at 8 minutes, you can kill her again at 18 minutes before Baron or something like that. I'm not sure how they're going to do this, but that's pretty cool that they maybe can get 2 Rift Heralds in a game. I mean, if you're ahead as a split pusher, if I'm TRYND versus Jax and I get a lead or something, I can get the first Rift Herald, take the first turret down, get all those plates, and then I can get a second Rift Herald and basically end the game. That sounds busted. Well, anyways, support items. So along with bot lane being reduced in experience, that's obviously going to suck for them. So what they're doing is they're going to buff the support items so that, how you had to buy, after you bought your support item, you had to buy the upgrades for it too. Now what they're doing, if you complete the quest, it will automatically upgrade the item for you, which is really nice if you're a support player. And honestly, I personally think that supports have a lot of impact already. I think this is going to give them even more impact in the game because they can go straight into more impactful items earlier. We'll have to see how that is balanced by the fact that dual lane experience is lower to see how much impact it's actually going to increase. I think it's going to be a buff to supports. I don't think they needed a buff. They had a lot of impact already, but that's my personal opinion. We'll have to see all the numbers and stuff. And then, of course, lethality items. So, Duskblade and Ghostblade are going to be mostly the same, but they are changing Edge and Knight to work more like a Banshee Veil, so the shield is just always on. Sanguine Blade is a new lethality item that enables split pushing. Its unique passive grants a huge attack speed buff when no allies are nearby. I might just build this on TRYND, depending on the stats. You know, if their team is especially squishy, and I've got my 2 crit items ready to go, I might just build that Sanguine Blade and try to just one-shot people. Especially if I get ahead. And the fact that it grants attack speed so I can reset my spin, that sounds like a good item for TRYND. But, I mean, maybe there's some assassins who can make use of this too. Like, I think Zed does pretty good with attack speed, for example. And they're also going to explore a few other lethality item options. So, I mean, depending on how many lethality items they release, you might actually be able to get a full set of lethality items. Because right now, with the lethality items, you have Duskblade, Ghostblade, Etch and Night. You build 3, and then maybe you can build an extra serrated Dirk. And that's a total potential of 4 lethality items that you can build. But it sounds like, I mean, they've got 4 right here, and then they're maybe even adding even more. You might be able to get 6 lethality items for legit one-shots, which is going to be fun. And, again, like, along with the map changes and the experience changes, I really feel like this is heading into our assassin meta, so we'll have to see. Guys, they are removing Spear of Shojin completely out of the game. That's a huge nerf to endgame Jax, Renekton, Riven. Yes! They finally removed it. It just did not need to be there. Now they're going to have to make adjustments to those champions, most likely, but I personally felt like Spear Shojin was just such an unnecessary item to add to the game that was very niche to 3 to 4 champions. Or maybe if you're like, you know, trying to do some crazy, you know, build that's not super optimal, but like, you know, could make, you know, something like slightly OP in a certain situation, you know, Spear Shojin was pretty cool for that. But for the most part, if you're trying to grind ranked, you're trying to gain LP, you build it on 3 or 4 champions max, and that was it. So it just take out the item, balance those 3 or 4 champions accordingly. Like, I just hated the fact that you go against Jax, he counter strikes onto you, activates his ultimate, auto attack W's, and basically already has his counter strike right back up. So he counter strikes, you're stunned for a second, auto attack and W, auto attack, and then it's right back up. And it's just too tanky. So it's going to balance Jax a lot. Renekton, I think, had a somewhat similar issue, but Renekton was really squishy if he rushed Spear. Like, he had a lot of sustain, but he didn't have the defensive capabilities that, like, a Jax had. Riven was just kind of strong no matter what. They've made some changes to her recently, so I'm not sure where she falls. But Spear Shojin being removed is a definite nerf to her. So they probably will buff Riven, I'm not going to lie. They are changing Conqueror to be more like what Fervor used to be, because they don't want the true damage conversion, which that is what I said from the very beginning is what they needed to do. They don't need this true damage conversion. Just give us the attack damage. That's what I want, at least. Like, it just it made me feel like I was not being as efficient with my items when I built something like Last Whisper and I took Conqueror, because it was like, well, dang, like 8% of my true damage, or 8% of my damage can be true damage, or like 20% from before, right? It is true damage. I'm just being less effective by building, or my armor pen item is less effective because I have 8% true damage. Anyways, it just didn't feel nice and neat for me in my head, so I just personally didn't like how Conqueror, you know, was. I'm glad that they're going to change it to something more like Fervor. They are nerfing Klepto. Kleptomancy has been commonly used as a way to generate lots of gold in an uneven matchup, like range versus melee top lane, where pulling power out of the farm gold off my enemy pattern and pushing more into their early game elixir drops. Perfect! You're telling me Kennen isn't going to get 1,000 gold in 10 minutes just by auto-attacking me a few times? That's great. You know, I'm happy. Thank goodness. And Aftershock continues to attract squishy champions looking to negate their intended fragility. We're lowering the flat resistances more in this rune and buffing the power it gives to tankier champions. Great. Like, Season 10 is pretty awesome. And guess what is coming out in Season 10? That's right, a new champion, Senna. So, I mean, I'm gonna leave. Let's watch the video. Movie time. Okay, I just want to know, how much was this Lucian feeding to be beat up by a support Thresh? Or maybe this guy's got an Infinity Edge, who knows? Where are they? Well, what is this random fight? This is what I want to know. She looks so badass. I just love how she has this huge ass gun. Lucian has these pistols, and she just has got this big ass gun. So I'm thinking Senna and Lucian are gonna be like Zaya Rakan, and probably gonna be super busted together. Just saying. Those are some sharp green eyes. And then of course, Thresh gets away. So it looks like Senna, like one of Senna's abilities, like probably her ability that is going to make her like super strong, is that she has the ability to reflect projectiles or something. That's what it looked like to me, right? That shield looked like it reflected Thresh's hook back at him. That's gonna be a pretty cool mechanic, in my opinion. And honestly, I always love these little animations. Although this one just seemed kind of random because I don't know where they are or what the backstory was to why Lucian was fighting in that particular. I mean, obviously, is this like supposed to be staged immediately after Thresh captured Senna, and they just release this animation like years and years later, but it's supposed to be like a continuation, like as if it happened seconds ago? I'm not sure, but anyways, it's a pretty cool video. Anyways, like everything is gonna be insane for this next season. I am really excited for season 10, and I haven't been this excited for a season in years. Like every other season has been kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, but this season it sounds like they're making actual changes. And with what happened with Riot's 10-year anniversary yesterday, and with them, announcing all those new games like Legends of Runeterra, which, by the way, has Trainer in it, and I was playing it yesterday. It was really awesome. The Project A, it looked like they had some kind of like hack and slash kind of deal that they showed. I mean, this all sounds awesome. I hope they release an MMO, is all I'm going to say. Anyways, if you guys like this video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. And leave a comment below on what you think of all these changes. What do you think will be the most impactful change? What do you think of Senna? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.